right, here we go. Welcome, beloveds, again to the Womb-Centered Leadership Initiation. And I'm Christina Louise of Empress Rising, and I'm so honored to be here today at last with the one and only Anaya Sophia. And Anaya, I find it difficult to really adequately introduce all of that which you truly are, but I'll start by saying that Anaya is a Kundalini yoga teacher, and she is a rare breed of true mystic, and also the author of multiple incredible books, some of which are my personal favorites, like Sacred Feminine Wisdom, Womb Wisdom, and then I have one right here, Sacred Relationships, which has like 20 bookmarks in it. And so Anaya, you are truly one of the most potently clear examples of deeply embodied feminine wisdom and womb-centered leadership that I know. And just to give listeners a little bit more of an idea, so Anaya works with the oral tradition of Sophia, and she weaves the feminine expression of Christ consciousness into all of her work. And she spent the whole first half of her life completely immersed in the true Christ and Mary mysteries. So all of that to say that she is the real deal, and very hard to find that in a world of just a lot of watered down spiritual truths. And I had the honor of getting to stay with Anaya and her beloved Pete when I was in the south of France studying womb work and the Mary mysteries, and just being in Anaya's presence is a continuous transmission. So Anaya, not that I needed any more evidence that you're the real deal, but I just wanted to share with listeners that when we were first going to do this interview a week ago or so, the night before the interview was supposed to happen, I actually, when I was kind of in that shared quantum field with you in the astral plane, I had this very vivid dream where you came to me with Green Tara, and it was this complete initiation and activation. And I woke up feeling like a different woman. So I just have to like really honor the depth of the work that you're doing, which is truly keeping the feminine mysteries alive and doing the work that really can't be written. It's not coming from ego or a need for validation or popularity. It's like you are really offering this deep soul to soul transmission in the work that you're doing, and the world needs it right now. And so I'm really honored to be here with you and to have you share your teachings and your love essence with all of the women who are really drawn to the divine feminine arts and to womb consciousness. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for making this happen, for inviting me, for introducing me in that beautiful way. What can I say? Thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you. It's really an honor. And you know, just the love and the wisdom and truth that you emanate is so profound. And so to be able to share that with as many women and men as possible is very important to me. Especially right now, there's an urgency for it. There's a need. And so I know it will be deeply healing for many. And that's my hope, to truly have it be of service. So is there anything else you want to share about the work you're doing in the world with listeners, those that are less familiar with what you do? Just wanted to give you an opportunity if I missed anything that's important.
The only thing I would say is a lot of people imagine that I'm only speaking about sexuality. So I just want to dispel that myth completely. Not at all. That's just an aspect that's been picked up upon. I really feel I'm housing or speaking to every single aspect of that whole human consciousness experience.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And even just witnessing what you and Pete are doing in the world and sharing about your relationship and your love in just the most raw, real, vulnerable way, just exposing everything is evidence of that you're really doing the work on all levels, the work of the heart, the work of the soul, and the human work as well. Yeah. So happy to be a part of that. Well, just to start, you know, to start at kind of the base foundational level, you know, this summit that I created is around this idea of womb-centered leadership. And, you know, I know a lot of people are kind of like, they have an idea of what that means, but maybe don't really understand the true essence of womb consciousness and what womb consciousness is. So maybe just to start with some basic womb wisdom to really help those women or listeners that are connecting to really feel what that is in themselves would be really helpful and appreciated.
Well, I would say the way that that shows up for me is an active and palpable heart and womb centered connection with the whole of life, every single part of life, from ants to elephants, from girls to boys, from men to women, everything. A real, and it's a feeling of being like a custodian of nature. A custodian of nature and everything within nature, which of course includes us humans. So it's feeling that not only the connection, but the responsibility to speak and act and take care of those who may not be having this feeling yet.
Can you speak a little bit more to that responsibility? Because I mean, I know that right now it feels like, we're just going to get straight into it, into the depth of it, because it's needed right now at this time. And the divine responsibility that we have when we have that feeling and that knowing of the womb, or however, the hara, whatever you want to call it, that deeper connection to all things, we also have a responsibility to act and to use our voices, especially in these times that we're living in.
Absolutely. I am very much being inspired by Andrew Harvey and Caroline Mice. And at the moment, both myself and Pete are on the shadow course with them as our guides. And so we're being very much exposed to a possible reality of this planet. Something that could happen literally any day now, any week now, definitely by the end of this year being spent. And so, I mean, I've always carried a sense of responsibility anyway. Maybe that's my Capricorn tendency.
Yes.
But whatever responsibility I had has now absolutely gone to the next level. And there isn't very many options left for us humans. You know, how can we be? How can we do? What is our sacred action? And I would say what is left now is very much what can we be? What is our vibration? What is our frequency? What is our beingness? And how do we share that beingness with the rest of life? You know, we are in a dire time in our evolution. And we're going to see some very sizable things happen by the time this year is through. And so I, 2 hours ago, I was on another interview and I was saying, if anyone feels like they're sitting on something and waiting for the right time, well, let me just say, now is the right time. And if anyone is holding back in any way, I beg of you, don't hold back. And if anyone is toying with an idea of bringing something forward, I would say, stop toying. All the delaying, waiting for this perfect moment, waiting for the sign, waiting for some sort of confirmation, then let this interview, let it be the confirmation that you're waiting for. Please don't wait. Act, be now.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that forward, because it's been on my heart very, very heavily. And actually, just on a personal note, I had delayed doing this, really putting this summit out and doing these interviews. And I kind of forgot the true core seed of what the mission is and why I'm doing it, the deep service of it. And so all of these kind of sabotaging forces were allowed to get into the container because I wasn't holding strong to that. And it all of a sudden, I listened to one of your other interviews recently where you spoke about this, and I just felt this immense, first the ownership of all of that which I've been delaying, and just making excuses, waiting for the right time, repressing. And that's all the conditioning, of just what's happened in society, and what so many of us are trying to break free of is this matrix, the wounding and the conditioning, all of it. And I saw how much this is coming into play in my life, and I see it all around me, of just this deep repression and this fear of really standing in what we know to be true and really stepping out with that into the world. Yes. Especially those of us as women that we have this incredible force within us that we're terrified of, because we've been taught to be terrified of it. And so we
Yes.
don't speak up and we don't share our mission and our service, and we just hold back. And it's like we're waiting for the ball to drop, but now it's happening
Yes.
and things are crumbling, and the time is now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I often think of that statement, that sentence by the Dalai Lama. A few years ago, he said, a Western woman or Western women will save the world. And I remember thinking, oh, maybe perhaps that's some kind of innovation. Maybe that's some kind of political breakthrough. Maybe that's some breakthrough in medicine or education. But I don't think it's any of those things right now. When he said Western women will save the world, what I feel is an absolute truth is that, you know, when we were talking, I was calling it sacred rage, that, as you said, there is this great force that will come through maybe womankind, maybe the feminine, man and woman. But it is a primordial force. It probably doesn't have an English language or a mother tongue language. It's literally going to be a new expression, maybe even a new emotion. Could it be the last offering that we give to this evolutionary time that we're in? That's what I feel. As soon as we've released this permission to let it sound, let it ricochet through our body, could this be what the Dalai Lama predicted? Western women shall save the world, because they just simply allow the divine feminine to express through them. But it's going to be a sound. It's going to be an unknown sound, emotion, expression. And of course, mind has no clue.
Yes. Yeah. And so how would you say, because I know as I'm, you know, listening and feeling all of this deeply, I know that I can speak for many others too, just from everyone I've been talking to, all the women, and not just women, but especially women. There's like this sense of, okay, I know I have to take action. I know I have to speak. I know I have to do something. But then this feeling comes in of like, where do I start? And is it too late? You know, just this overwhelming, you know, like if we're being with the true emotions of it, it's almost like I've personally dealt with those waves of defeat. Like, well, what can I do now? What can I do? And I know that that's a part of the problem. And so I don't want to let that be a hindrance, but to know how to, you know, feel these incredible impulses to act and to move and to speak and to show up differently, and to know where we can make the most ground, you know, if, and it might not even be that it's, like you said, about salvaging anything or stopping anything at this point, but still, where do we find our place in that?
Yeah. Andrew very much speaks about this stage of you know, oh, why bother? It's too late. And he often recommends simply be with like-minded, like-hearted people. Stay with the vibration of sacred action. Stay with the vibration of, I am going to speak out regardless if it's too late. Because we simply don't know. We don't know what our effort on earth is going to do much, much further away. And so we have to inspire one another. We have to uplift one another, encourage, support. Yeah. And of course, there are agents in the mind that, you know, cause us to doubt, cause us to despair, cause us to be overwhelmed.
And so how would you maybe advise women who, so again, speaking from like a personal perspective on this, you know, I know that a lot of women who are drawn to this kind of work and this kind of action, you know, a lot of women are remembering their priestesshood or just their sacred, you know, their divine blueprint at this time. They're stepping into these parts of themselves that have been long forgotten. And a lot of us are also very open, very sensitive. And so these kind of forces can come in sometimes, whether it be, you know, if you just want to look at them as doubts or thoughts or other energies, and it's a hard thing to speak about. But I know personally, I've actually struggled quite a bit with this, of part of the responsibility of being a vessel of service and love is that you can be a vessel for other things too, if you do not have the strength of boundaries and the knowingness of how to work with that.
Yes.
And if you have any at all sort of insight or advice as to this, I know for me, this has been a tremendous blockage for me in sharing my gifts. And I speak with a lot of women who are similar. They're so affected by it that, it affects the work they're doing in the world.
Yeah. Well, in times like that for myself, I will often turn to the Black Madonna. That doesn't necessarily mean, a Black Madonna from the Christian faith. I turn to a Black representative of the feminine who is obviously holding that sacred heart. And if I'm wearing or assuming any kind of priestess positioning, I will humbly remove that hat, remove any sense of I am someone special, please pay attention to me. And I'll actually go to her, not because I've falsely humbled myself, but because I am in a true state of humility. Not because I want to get something from her. So there's no conniving, there's no manipulation in this at all. I'll actually just simply come into like my daughterhood or my daughtership and go to her as that daughter, asking for help and expressing truly what I'm experiencing. I'm plagued with doubt. I have sabotage in my mind. I'm not 100% sure about this person, this situation, this circumstance. And so I won't be mystical about my prayer. Very simple, very clear. And beloved Mother, please help me. Help me discern. Help me to be wise. Help me to act. So any sort of, summoning, I've done all of this, obviously, summoning, commanding, invoking. Oh my God, no.
I'm so glad you're bringing that up. I'm really, really glad you're bringing that up. I just know that it took me a long time to extricate myself from certain spiritual communities that were more based in that sort of energy of I am God, or I'm calling upon, I understand the importance of knowing our like taking ownership of our power, but it has to be based in humility and love. And I think it's why I was very naturally magnetized to you and what you're doing, because of the resonance with that deep, heartfelt humility, which is actually the essence of any true divine connection must come from that place. And I just see so many and there's no judgment, but I see a lot of teachings. I see a lot of people right now in spiritual communities that there's maybe just trying to think of how to put it in a way that is honoring and diplomatic, but yet true. I would just say, like, there's a lot of people who are claiming to be something, like, putting themselves out there as priestesses, as this and as that, but it's still coming from a different place. Absolutely. And so I know we had originally, spoken about talking about what true priestessing is. And I think, talking about humility is the first place to start.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And priestessing comes with a great weight of responsibility.
Yes.
And it is a weight. It's not glamorous. You're not special. There's no entitlement. It's not a slog, but I call it an onus. The onus is upon your shoulders to respond appropriately, even at times when your humanity is like wearing and tearing and having a really hard time itself. If anyone should call on you, you have that responsibility to respond.
Yeah.
And also, about a week, 10 days ago, I was in a little bit of a pickle myself, praying in a way I just demonstrated, but also having to apply my human skills. I knew I was in a dark place, so I knew rest, lots of rest, lots of breathing, lots of yoga. And so when those moments come when, you could say you're under attack or whatever, then you pray, bring in your spiritual support, but also definitely apply the human skills that you've also been given along the path. Slow everything down, simplify, breathe, rest, let the nervous system stabilize itself again. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be plenty of that up ahead.
Yeah.
So we have to remember those, steadying tools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like it's easy to forget in those times to, the importance of, we want to be able to act, but we want to be able to act not from this place of inner terror, because it's only feeding the problem. And so I really appreciate that reminder to just use the tools that we know how to use, and that prayer is really the most effective.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And so I have to ask, just I'm feeling it now, this part of me that, with this course you're talking about that you're doing, and really beyond that, I just very deeply trust your connection and your ability to tap into what is unfolding beyond all of the illusions of, what is happening in the world right now. And so you really feel like at this time, we're coming into something that within a number of months, there will be some very, monumental events happening in the world.
There could be. There very easily could be. Mm-hmm. And I do feel in response to that is this acceleration of the feminine expression in her true and full embodiment. Mm. So I see everything in equality. I see everything in balance. So yes, there could be some final great act of the patriarchy, absolutely, playing the ace card, the worst of the worst. But absolutely in balance of that is the feminine embodiment available to us all. But us humans, we have to decide. We have to make that choice. Are we a yes to the full embodiment, or are we a no? And that's just the big question mark. Mm-hmm. How are we responding?
Mm-hmm. And how can we as women that have this strong call to serve as beacons of love and truth in this time, how can we really truly open to that true full feminine embodiment that's wanting to come through and really surrender to that? I know we've talked about tools to use when the waters get rough and choppy, but I'm wondering maybe if this is a good time to help women access their womb space, because I know so much comes from that, from the centering and grounding of when we feel like we're spinning out. And I know for me, when I finally came into what it felt like to connect to myself, like my body, my womb, my heart, like actually to be there and not to be out here somewhere or in here. Yes. And that was a very recent thing, actually, that I was able to find that place in myself and really notice the difference. It's so much, it seems more easeful, and not really easy, but still there's a greater ease in acting when we can access that, even in the midst of the spinning and the chaos and that's happening.
I would say, I would just literally talk you through what I do.
Okay.
So every morning I grab my journal. I do everything I can to absolutely settle myself down. So I might do yoga first of all, lots of breath. I'm in my heart. I look out across the garden and I see the beauty of the garden, and I know I'm in my heart because I'm seeing the birds and I'm hearing the beginnings of morning. Then I take a deeper journey down, 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 down into the womb and down into my earthly love and connection to all living things, to the waters, to the forest, to the animals, to the birds, to my ancestors. And then I would get that journal and pen moving. And I would ask the womb, I would ask that reality, am I holding a sacred gift for this moment now? And I would simply just let my pen write. No mind, no editing, no minimizing, no exaggerating. I would just let my womb speak upon the page. And then I would act on that, absolutely, what was written down, no matter how outrageous or far-fetched it seemed. And I would especially do that now, in the moment that we're in and the moment that we face. So it's not here. It's not the priestess. You know, I'm not top heavy. I'm not up in my head. I'm not assuming I'm something special. I'm not out to save the world. First of all, I'm in my heart. I can see the beauty and the purity and the naturalness of everything. Drop down further still as a custodian of this planet, you know, a keeper of wisdom on this planet, willing and able to take the responsibility of all life forms. What would that knowingness have me do in this moment? Is there anything I'm sitting on? Is there anything I'm holding back? Is there anything I'm turning my back on? Is there any shirking, you know? And if so, enable me with everything I need to bring this out into the world now, at this time. And even as I sit here with you now, my womb is aching, like a period is coming, like a moon cycle is coming. And to me, that is the confirmation. I'm absolutely in that area. A lot of ladies speak about that. When they go into their womb, the fallopian tubes, the ovaries can often ache as if they're about to start bleeding. To me, that is a great sign you're in the right place. That part of you is speaking.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I can actually feel the ache right now, and I have been feeling it, but it just intensified tremendously. So, yeah, and so how can we really know and feel when we're moving out of alignment with that? And I ask that because, you know, I know on a human level, a lot of people have jobs and daily responsibilities they're working with right now. And so, you know, we can get caught up in that very hectic, busy, you know, it is part of the trap of just not really being able to take the time and go into that deep essence and find the depth there, because we convince ourselves, well, I have to do this and I have to do that, and well, I do have to feed the children and I have to make somehow.
Yes.
So it's important to speak this, to bring this forward of what are some simple ways in which, if, you know, someone is moving about their daily life and trying to balance, you know, whatever their worldly responsibilities are and the voice of their soul, how can they really notice or feel, I shouldn't say notice because I don't want it to be a mind thing, but feel in their bodies, okay, something is out of alignment. I'm stepping out of alignment with what is being asked of me.
Yeah. Well, how do I know if my masculine energy is coming in? It's quite simple. I can't tell how I feel. Like Peter say, how are you feeling? And I just like look at him blankly. I'll say, I don't know. And to me, that is a great sign. Another great sign is speeding up in some way. So my speaking gets faster, my actions get faster, the to-do list gets longer. Those are the two really obvious ones that I've absolutely come away from that feminine part. I'm up in the mind, masculine energy is in charge, leading, directing, guiding. Nothing wrong with masculine energy, but we have to make sure it's in balance. And if we are in a period of womb consciousness and, you know, birthing something from the womb, then it would be very wise not to stimulate the masculine energy too much. Literally treat yourself like a pregnant woman in her last trimester. Take it easy. Be aware of the swollen belly. Move, breathe, act like a pregnant woman in her 7th, 8th, 9th month. Pregnant ladies, they start changing towards the end. That's how we need to be if we're wanting to devote some time to the awakening of the womb. Imagine you're 8 months pregnant. And then think of all the rest that you would give yourself and how you wouldn't expect yourself to go to the gym every day. You wouldn't expect yourself to work 12 hours in front of a computer. You simply wouldn't. You know you're carrying new life in your body. We need to adopt the same principles when we're taking that deep womb journey for the very first time. But of course, the world will say not.
Exactly.
Carry on as usual.
And that's what I was thinking of, is how easy it is. And you know, for me, I had the contrast of being in France and being deeply immersed in the land there, and a very slow life, and slow moving, and doing this deep, you know, diving into my essence and the land, and coming back to the States, where I live very much in the middle of all of that, and middle of the city, same, you know, energy that is in any big city. And if anything, that kind of toxicity is growing here, I've noticed, or maybe I'm just more sensitive to it now. But it was such an intense difference that my body shut down, and, you know, my lungs closed off, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I'm just starting to understand how, you know, even when I've been speaking to other women who are starting to come into this awareness of their womb and a greater responsibility in the natural world, everything that is happening. And they have these similar experiences where there is an understanding, a deep knowing in one moment to turn off those voices with the world saying, you have to do this, and you have to be making money, and you have to go, go, go. But then the pressure will come back in. Someone in their life may say something, or, you know, some sort of reality check around a human responsibility will come in, and then it's kind of like you feel that creeping back in. And it's almost gotten me to the point of feeling like, wow, so many of us as women really need to make sure we're in environments that support.
That's right. And we need to support one another. Us ladies, we absolutely need to, like, you know, rally around ourselves and support and nourish and nurture everything that is happening to us. Not to compete, not to compare and contrast, not to compete, which is the old program, you know, divide and conquer, the old fabulous program of the patriarchy, but to actually cocoon, nurture, nourish, support, encourage, beautify, bless, heal all the women feeling inspired and moved to take this journey. Not bitch fight. No. The other quality.
Yes, yes, I'm really glad you're bringing that forward. I've gotten to witness the depths of my own jealous rage very recently for the first time. And, I know that I know the shadow work is very important for us in this, but also just understanding how much of it is a part of that old programming is very helpful, because that's when we can catch ourselves and say, oh, that's not who I really am.
Yeah.
And is there, maybe this would be a good time to just briefly touch on when it comes to the energy of sexuality and that life force energy. Something that really moved me from listening to one of your other recent sharings, offerings, or interviews was talking about, just on a very simple level, helping remind us of how medicinal that energy really is when it is allied with the heart and when it's in alignment with that. And I'm just now myself rediscovering how much fear I've had around sexuality and whatever I've deemed to be the bad girl or the dark parts of me that I've shamed. And so I know that I'm speaking with so many other women that are having a similar experience of really almost feeling like they don't know where to start, but they know that there's something untapped there. It doesn't space, maybe. So if there's anything you have to share about that, would be wonderful.
Yes. I would say that part of the journey is very important. I took the darker part of the journey when I was in my 20s. So I was completely unconscious. But being a fashion designer in London, that was literally all that was on offer. So I learned that part of me first. There is a wealth of energy in there, a power that is unprecedented. And what I'm realizing now, being the other side of that journey, is that again reminds me of when we were speaking at the beginning of this call, how there's going to be a new expression, a new emotion. There's going to be some kind of extending out into the world, whether it's through women or through the feminine. I absolutely don't know. I don't need to know. But I believe it will draw on that place as well. So it's going to draw on the light parts of us, and it's going to draw on the shadow parts of us. And that's why it's so important to be doing our shadow work, so that it's clean. By the time this part of us is going to be expressed, it is clean. It's not laced with our own darkness that does want to harm. And that darkness that is cruel and jealous and wrathful. So it's been cleaned of all of that. So it's almost like we do need to explore all the shadowy parts, not just of sexuality, but we're talking of sexuality now, to simply know thyself, know thy tendencies. Draw that in to the being, the entire being, the whole being, clean, clean, clean of any wickedness, any cruel, mean, bitchy, jealous, vengeful, all of that stuff, clean, 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 and simply have that part within you. So like a clean shadow element. And again, this is exactly what Andrew is saying. As we raise in vibration, as we really become a true beacon of light, so raises the other capacity, just the capacity to be equally as dark. So this myth that we've been told in the New Age, that the more light you become, that the dark goes down. Caroline Mice, Andrew Harvey, Marianne Williamson, and now myself, because of direct experience, as you raise in light, parallel in another universe where your shadow reigns, you are raising in capacity to do the equal and opposite of the light. not less. The two are tracking each other. And that is creation. That is the name of the game. That is the reality. But it's only to know, wow, I'm only capable of doing the equal and opposite of my true luminescence of my soul. So all we have to do is clean the part of us that could be tempted to swing over into the dark side. Just clear out the wickedness, the vengeance, the wrath, I'm gonna make you pay. Clean, and just simply stick with the energy. It's got the energy, but it's not programmed. I'm gonna make you pay. It's just power.
Yes.
And that's very much what I've been doing this whole year. Going to those places, cleaning out my own, it's like tooth decay, cleaning out the cavity where I could do something wicked, and just simply having the clean energy, power, pure power.
Yeah, it seems like that is the core of the work that we should all be doing right now.
It's a narrow path. I must emphasize how narrow that path is. Yes. And this is exactly what Yeshua was saying. Very narrow path. Eye of the needle. There are so many, trials and temptations, and you got to be so careful.
Yes.
But if you have a humble spirit and a good pair of eyes, that could be your partner, that could be your best friend, people who absolutely love and trust you completely, and they'll be able to tell you the moment you step off the path and you start getting into a bit of entitlement, or I am this or I am that, they'll soon say, hey. Yeah, and we need each other. We can't do this journey by ourselves. We need eyes on us to see if we're straying.
And so this brings it actually just started raining here, which it hasn't been raining at all. So I think you're bringing something down. I know for a number of loved ones in my community and for myself, the more that I step into doing this kind of work or understanding some of these things that you're sharing in my own way, it's almost like everything that I've created from a place that is very much not that, all of a sudden doesn't feel like it fits anymore. And it's almost like this sense of, well, what now? And I know this is where the tools come in of really listening to how can I move forward? What is the action? But I know that it can feel very, it's just like this complete stripping away of everything, even to the point of where it's like communities that I was a part of don't feel the same because there isn't as much of a resonance with whatever attracted me into that space. And now I'm finding that there's this whole new other thing wanting to come forth. And so, can you hear the thunder?
Yes.
Perfect. That's perfect. Oh, it's great. So maybe, I don't know if there's anything you have to share about that. I know you've probably come into periods of that in your life where you had to leave a lot behind in order to truly choose this path of the soul and opening the heart. And it can feel very daunting and frightening for some.
It's definitely a lonely path.
Yes.
And also, I'm not one for community anyway. I'm a little bit of a lone wolf. I often run, by myself, with myself. And my greatest support is on the inside. And of course, where I'm living is right bang in the middle of nowhere. So I guess we live different lives. You know, you're really in the heart of it, and community must be huge for you in the States. But I've chosen once again to really step out and live very remotely. So I can't really answer that question or even give any sort of opinion, because I'm quite alone, I would say. But that is by choice.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that aloneness.
I'm learning to love it more myself. I used to resist it a lot.
Yes.
Well, maybe the thing to ask would be how important is it for those of us who are wanting to walk this path in truth and love and true service at this time to extricate ourselves from any sort of environment that seems so, like, for instance, where I am now, being in the heart of it. On one hand, I could say, well, I have a responsibility here to change and maybe to affect more people, and to, you know, I could make something out of that. But it also feels like a constant fight of, you know, throwing water out of the boat before I can even really truly, almost like damage control every day. And so is there a way to stay in the heart of it and really walk that path?
Yes. I would suggest that okay, so the first step is your ease and ability to source from what it is you are sourcing from. For instance, I would call what I'm sourcing from Sophia or Magdalene or the Marys. So I need to be absolutely hand on heart, living in an environment where I can just close my eyes and it's there. I don't have to fight my way, you know, through the Wi-Fi, through the noise of the streets, through the chaos of whatever else is in the atmosphere, the Bluetooth, you know, the text messaging. So we need to be able to absolutely source with great ease and support what it is we are sourcing. And then go right into the heart of the environment and deliver our package, our sacred package. I remember when I was living in London, I realized that just simply wasn't happening anymore. But my heart belonged to London. I loved the pulse and the way I thrived in London. So towards the end, when I realized I can't source from here anymore, I simply moved outside. I went to Brighton, which is just 50 miles outside of London on the ocean. It's like a little mini San Francisco. And I was just sourcing. Oh my God, I felt amazing, topped up, expansive, gorgeous, you know, up to here with energy. And then I'd literally take the train, go into London, work solidly for the whole of the week, just pumping out all of this energy, and then returning back to Brighton where I would be replenished. That is a great model for people who so know that their sacred action really is in the heart of the city. You might not be able to live in the heart of the city. You might need to come to the outskirts where it's green, plentiful, supportive, healing, become replenished, and go right into the eye of the storm and just deliver your sacred package like a spiritual UPS woman.
That's a wonderful visual.
That is a win-win situation.
It is a win-win situation.
Yeah. Don't let the matrix get into your gorgeous, sacred, organic system. Know where you can be fed, and then go and feed others.
Thank you so much. One
little community I'm thinking of is Wonderland in Portland.
Oh.
So they are this fabulous artistic community, but they live on 122nd Drive. So they're right on the outskirts of Portland. They're living in this gorgeous, hilly, green, mossy, fairy dwelling. And they're the most outrageous artists and creatives, young people I've ever met. But they live right on the edge of the city and, deliver your work right into the center. But they themselves have a gorgeous, organic lifestyle.
Yeah, I'll definitely sit with that. That feels like there's a lot of potential in that little seed. Thank you. Well, is there anything you want to share? I know we're kind of coming up on the end of an hour, so I don't know if there's anything really present on your heart, especially just with everything that is really happening right now. I know there's just this coming up of Kali energy and, just incredible need for sacred rage and the voice. And I'm really actually going to try to get this interview out before I launch my whole series, because I really want it out there. So whatever I have to do to make that happen. But I really just wanted to open up a space for whatever is really wanting to come through, because even though originally there was kind of this foundation for what this interview was, it's become something so much bigger and so much more, the depth is so much greater than I could have known. It just birthed itself into something else. And it's completely, just the process of even getting here to do this interview has changed my life in the past 2 weeks. So I just have to say, I bow to you. And if there's anything to share with everyone else watching, because I have a sense this is going to reach a lot of people, I would really like to open up the space for that in the last, few minutes we have here.
I would like to say to the feminine, so to the men and women amongst us, please realize that as we take this sexual journey to find our sexual authenticity, our sacredness, our wildness, healing the gates, please balance that with the same amount of importance in regards to your voice. So the feminine, in this moment, 2017, yes, she's awakening. Yes, she's becoming. But often the conditioning there in the West is to be very afraid of the voice, especially when it comes to confronting or challenging authority. This needs to be on an equal par with the power that we're investing to reclaim our authentic sexuality. I can see we're doing this with great gusto. This is a really true path. We're doing it. We are so doing it. But I just say, beloved feminine ones, men and women amongst us, please give the same attention to our voice. And especially the element of being able to cleanly challenge authority when you know it's off. You know it's off because the womb is telling you, and she's able to tell you because of the great sexual cleanup you've done in the womb yoni hara lingam area. He needs the second stage of the equipment fully operational, and that is the voice, and that is to call bullshit, and that is to speak on behalf of those who are innocent or undefended or haven't got a clue about this work, but there's an elephant in the room because you can see it trampling all over the place. So the feminine spirit has often not mentioned, oops, there's an elephant in the room. We're playing things down. We're pretending we didn't see something when we so absolutely had. This now is the time to absolutely speak what is happening around you. Speak it out, because soon we might not have the opportunity to speak because it's all gone. And this is not me being ridiculously exaggerating. This is me repeating what Andrew and Caroline and Marianne are absolutely also saying. We must get that voice working. Just because you confront and challenge someone doesn't mean there's going to be a massive brawl. But we must do it. I'm doing it. It's not easy, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I hear what is in Andrew's voice. I'm doing it because I simply know I have to.
Thank you. Thank you for doing it and for encouraging us all to step in and also do the same. I really, I feel it already changing the terrain of things. And so I'm just really deeply grateful. And I just want to ask too, do you feel like it's just as equally important for us to like really do that in our personal lives with just as much gusto, if, you know, say maybe not so much against authority, but other people in our lives, other things we see that we know are out of alignment?
Yes.
To really also.
Yes. Yes. And we don't have to like charge in.
Yeah.
You know, we can just say, we can just very calmly and very inclusive of everybody present say, you know, I'm sensing this in the field. How true could this be? I'm really not sure about saying yes to this because, so we just literally absolutely speak the truth of the things that we're sensing in the environment. I'm not 100% sure about this. Therefore, I'm going to pause until I am 100% sure. And of course, in our relationships, here's another area where things can slide under the carpet and no one says anything. And of course, we're conditioned to think, oh my God, if we say something, we're gonna upset the apple cart. That's a British saying. You know, we're gonna put the cat amongst the pigeons. These are the 101 reasons why we don't say anything. But they're not true. It's conditioning. It's a program. If we come to our heart first, and then simply state what we are pretty much 100% sure that we're picking up on. And don't move. If it's a no, it's a no. If it's a don't know, that's still a no. If it's a yes, it's a yes. Only proceed when it's a yes. If you have any hesitancy, that is a no until it becomes a yes. Don't. Other people's opinions, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Other people's opinions do not matter a jot. It doesn't matter what your parents think. It doesn't matter what your siblings think. It doesn't matter what your spiritual teachers think. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you think and feel. And we must be true to that. Because as you know, things change. Things can change from 1 minute to the next. Just because you've declared a massive no, this is my no. And by doing that, in 1 minute's time, it could be a yes. This is how fast we're moving now. Moment by moment, absolute, authentic truth. And anyone who's worth their salt will recognize this quality of journey, support you, even if your opinions are different, and knowing that nothing is fixed in stone, but we must be true. Moment by moment, we must be true.
Letting that one really drop deep And oh my God, I just really want to let that settle for a good period of time. And it's pouring here now. And I just want to allow everyone who's watching this interview to also take a moment to really be with that. Because it can be so easy to let these moments of incredible wisdom just pass us by because we're living such a fast-paced, it's happening so quickly. So just to really take in, hold, and feel fully in the body. Thank you so much. I don't really even have many words for my gratitude for you sharing all of this, but especially just for you being here doing the work that you're doing. And the true work is the work that's done behind the scenes that, you know, you don't necessarily always get a lot of credit or acknowledgement for, but it's the true depth that is needed right now. And I can really feel the essence of all of that you are and what you're doing and what you're sharing, what you're offering. And I have just as much of a mission to put that out there into the world and share that with as many people as possible as I can in my own little humble circle. So thank you so much for being here and for really opening all of yourself to this and to everyone.
Thank you so much. And I absolutely bless all that you're doing. So much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.